I didn't mean to fall in love with him. I only meant to save his life. I never expected to find myself in an alley at midnight, staring at a man bleeding in the shadows, his life hanging by a thread. I had been walking home after my late shift, trying not to think about the mounting bills or the rent I hadn't been able to pay on time. Life was simple, or at least I thought it was, until that night. He was leaning against a sleek black car, his tailored suit ruined with blood, one hand pressed to his side. Most people would have passed him, maybe called an ambulance or avoided the scene entirely. I hesitated. My instincts screamed danger, but my gut pushed me forward. 3 steps and then another. I had no plan. I only knew I couldn't leave him there. "Hey," I called, voice shaking. My throat felt dry, but I forced it out. "Are you okay?" He lifted his head slowly, eyes sharp, alert and dark. For a second I thought he might push me away, that he might tell me to run. But instead he gave me a faint, almost imperceptible nod. "Help me," he said. The voice was calm, measured, but every word carried a weight I didn't understand. I didn't know why I said yes. Maybe it was fear. Maybe it was instinct. Maybe it was some stubborn sense of responsibility I couldn't explain. I ran to my car parked a few feet away, fumbling for my keys as my mind raced with questions. Who was he? Why was he here alone, bleeding? And why did I feel my chest tighten every time I looked at him? I got him into my car, careful not to touch the wound. The blood soaked through his shirt and I felt a shiver run down my spine. "We need a hospital. Can you hold on?" I asked, my voice barely steady. "I'll be fine," he said, and the certainty in his tone made me pause. But not there. Too many cameras. Too much attention. I frowned, confused. "Then where?" "Private clinic," he said, his jaw tightening. "I can pay." I hesitated. My bank account was nearly empty. I had barely enough to cover my rent. And yet, I didn't question it. Something in his presence made it impossible to say no. As I drove, I couldn't stop thinking. He was impossibly tall, impossibly composed, even with a wound that should have crippled him. Every movement was deliberate. Every breath controlled. I had saved a man, yes, but something told me he was not an ordinary man. When we reached the clinic, the doctor took one look at him and ushered us inside. He was meticulous, commanding, even in pain. I followed, feeling both terrified and strangely exhilarated. "You're lucky," the doctor muttered, examining the wound. This was deliberate poisoning. Could have been fatal in minutes. I swallowed hard. Poisoning? Someone tried to kill him. The man didn't answer. He just gave me a look, calm, unreadable, almost amused by my reaction. I wanted to speak, to ask questions, to understand. But all I could do was watch as they worked to stabilize him. When he finally sat up, I realized how exhausted I felt. My hands were trembling and my heart was still racing. "Are you going to be okay?" I asked cautiously. "I will be," he said, voice low. "Because of you." I blinked. "Because of me?" "Yes," he said simply. "You didn't hesitate. You saved my life. Most people wouldn't have." I laughed nervously. "I didn't think. I just acted." "Exactly," he said, and for a moment I thought I saw a flicker of something in his eyes. Gratitude? Surprise? Recognition? I couldn't tell. Then came the men. Suits, sharp, precise, moving like shadows in the corners of the clinic. I tensed. "Who are they?" I asked, panic rising. "They're here for me," he said calmly. "And they're polite enough to stay back when I tell them." I swallowed. You can command them like that?" He gave me a faint, almost imperceptible smirk. "I don't need to explain." By the time we left the clinic, night had deepened. I was shaking, not just from the adrenaline but from the realization that my life had just intersected with someone so far beyond my world that it was almost impossible to comprehend. And then he said it. The words that changed everything. "You're coming with me," he said, calm, authoritative. I can't," I stammered. "I have a life. I can't just." "You saved my life," he interrupted, his eyes dark and commanding. "That means you're visible. That means you can't walk away now." I froze. The weight of those words hit me. My decision to save him had consequences far beyond my understanding. My mistake had put me in danger. The consequence was now unavoidable. He handed me papers. "Sign this," he said. "It's temporary until the threat is neutralized." My hands shook as I held the pen. I had no idea what I was signing. Marriage papers. Legal protection. Something I didn't fully understand. But I knew one thing. Signing them was the only way to survive. And as I scribbled my name, I realized I had crossed a line from which I could never return. That night I sat in the back of his car, silent, heart pounding. I had saved a man. I had made a mistake. And now the consequence, my life, was entirely entwined with his. I didn't know who he truly was. I didn't know what dangers were ahead. I didn't even know if I wanted to be part of this life. And yet, deep in my chest, a quiet, dangerous thought began to form. Maybe I didn't want to walk away. Look forward to episode 2.